Disclaimer: this story contains mature themes intended for adult viewers. Viewer discretion is advised. The room was warm with the soft glow of the bedside lamp, the air scented faintly with vanilla lotion. I had just slipped out of my bra, letting out a quiet breath of relief, when the door behind me creaked open, slowly, quietly, too quietly. I froze. Not out of fear, but because I already knew who it was. His reflection appeared in the mirror in front of me, tall, calm, his eyes locking with mine before I even turned my head. My hands were still on my chest, lotion glistening on my skin. I should have stepped back. Or covered myself. Or said something. But I didn't. I just held his gaze. His eyes didn't widen in shock, no. If anything, they softened, darkened a little, like he'd walked into a moment he wasn't sure he was allowed to see, but couldn't look away from. My heartbeat kicked up, loud enough I swore he could hear it. The room suddenly felt smaller, warmer. He took a single step inside. The door clicked shut behind him. "Sorry. I didn't know you were," he started, but his voice was low, almost hesitant, like he was afraid of breaking the air between us. "It's fine," I whispered. My hands were still exactly where they were. My body knew I should move, but my heart didn't want me to. He stopped a few feet away, close enough that I felt the heat from him, far enough that he was giving me the chance to stop this moment if I wanted to. I didn't. His eyes flicked from my hands to my face and stayed there. The silence pulsed between us, tense, charged, strangely intimate. A slow smile tugged at the corner of his mouth, the kind that wasn't teasing but curious. Almost like he was asking a question without speaking. And I felt it, something shifting, something that neither of us planned but both of us suddenly understood. My fingertips brushed across my collarbone, tracing the lotion into my skin, and for the first time, he inhaled sharply. That sound alone sent a wave of heat straight through me. Before either of us could decide what this moment really meant, he took another step forward. And then footsteps echoed from the hallway. Someone else was coming. We looked toward the door at the exact same time. And the moment shattered, hanging between us unfinished. But the way he looked back at me, hungry, hesitant, wanting, told me nothing about this was over. Not even close. The silence after those footsteps lingered longer than it should have. Even when the hallway grew quiet again, neither of us moved. It felt as if the universe had pressed pause, holding us inside a moment we weren't supposed to share, yet somehow had been building toward for far longer than either of us admitted. We had known each other for years. That was the problem, or maybe the reason none of this surprised me as much as it should have. He was my closest comfort and my greatest complication, someone I trusted with things I never said out loud. Someone who noticed the way my voice changed when I was tired, or the way I tucked my hair behind my ear only when something bothered me. He read me too easily. And lately? That closeness had started to feel dangerous. Not because we argued. Not because we drifted apart. But because we were getting too close to something neither of us dared name. The cracks didn't come from fights, they came from silence. The kind we filled with half-finished conversations, lingering glances, or moments like this one, moments that hovered at the edge of something deeper. I turned slightly, enough for my robe to shift down my shoulder. He noticed, of course he noticed. His eyes flickered there before coming back up to meet mine, as if he was giving himself rules and breaking them in the same breath. "You okay?" he asked softly. It was such a simple question. Yet his voice carried things he didn't say, concern, curiosity, and something warmer, something he tried hard to hide. "I don't know," I admitted, rubbing the last of the lotion onto my shoulder. "You walked in at a bad time." He smiled, slow and quiet. "Or the right one." The words shouldn't have made my chest tighten, but they did. The air thickened again, charged with something too heavy to ignore. He stepped closer, not close enough to touch me, but close enough that I felt the air shift. We had always danced around boundaries, but tonight, the space between us felt thinner, like something fragile ready to break or transform. "You've been distant lately," he said suddenly. "I thought it was because of me." I swallowed. "It wasn't you." His brows lifted slightly. "Then what?" I didn't answer. Because the truth sat right between us, I had been pulling away not out of fear of losing him, but out of fear of wanting him too much. He watched me, reading every twitch of my expression. That was the danger with him, he didn't look at me, he looked into me. A tiny step. Barely a shift. But enough that we were now only inches apart. His voice dropped. "You don't have to pretend with me, you never did." That was it. That sentence. The one that loosened something inside my chest I had been trying to keep held together. Before I could reply, a faint vibration buzzed from the dresser, my phone lighting up with a name I didn't want to see. A reminder of complications. Of realities. Of everything that made this moment impossible. I turned toward the phone. But he gently, carefully, touched my wrist, not holding me, just stopping me. "Talk to me," he whispered. And in that instant, the truth between us felt dangerously close to spilling over. The moment his fingers brushed my wrist, something inside me jolted, like my heart forgot its rhythm for a beat too long. I didn't pull away. Maybe I should have. Maybe that would have been the smarter thing to do. But the truth was, I didn't want to. The phone stopped vibrating, leaving behind a silence that felt far too revealing. He glanced at the screen, then at me. "That name again," he murmured, not accusing, just pained. A quiet sting of jealousy flickered behind his eyes, subtle but impossible to miss. I swallowed, my voice barely steady. "It's not what you think." "Maybe," he said. "But it feels like something." His honesty hit harder than I expected. He'd always been the calm one, the reasonable one. But now? There was something sharper in him, something he wasn't trying to hide anymore. A tension that made the air between us pulse. He stepped just a little closer, close enough that I felt the warmth of his breath on my cheek. "Tell me you don't feel it," he whispered. "This, whatever it is between us." My chest tightened. I wanted to deny it. I wanted to maintain the line we never crossed. But my voice betrayed me. "I feel it," I whispered back. His jaw flexed, a slow exhale escaping him like he'd been holding that admission inside his lungs for too long. He looked at me the way a man does when he's been fighting something, and losing. Then, footsteps again. Not close, but enough to remind us we weren't alone in the world, that reality existed outside this room. Still, he didn't move away. "You know," he said quietly, "every time I see you pull away from me, it feels like you're choosing something else. Someone else." "Don't," I breathed. "It's not like that. But it feels like it." This time jealousy wasn't subtle, it was raw, honest, right there in his voice. And it drives me crazy. He didn't touch me again, but the nearness was enough to blur reason. His eyes dropped to my lips for half a second, an instinct he tried so hard to hide. My pulse raced so fast I thought he could see it. Temptation buzzed in the air, thick and electric. "We can't," I whispered, though my voice trembled with the opposite truth. "I know," he said. But neither of us stepped back. And that was the real danger. Not what happened. The house had grown impossibly quiet, too quiet for the way my heartbeat thundered in my chest. After that almost confession between us, I thought he would walk out, give space, let things cool down. But instead, he spoke in a low breath. "Come with me. Just for a minute." A terrible, irresistible idea. I should have said no. I didn't. He led me to the small sitting room at the end of the hall, the one no one used anymore. The door clicked shut behind us, sealing us inside a private world where consequences couldn't enter, only the heat between us could. The lamp in the corner cast dim gold shadows across his face, sharpening his jaw, softening his eyes. We weren't touching, but the space between us felt magnetic, shrinking with every unsteady inhale. "You've been on my mind all day," he confessed quietly, voice trembling with restraint. I kept trying to ignore it, but then. He paused, gaze dipping over my shoulder where my robe still hung loose. "Then I walked in on you like that, and it was over for me." My breath caught. He wasn't playing anymore. He wasn't hiding. "You shouldn't say things like that," I whispered. "Why?" He stepped closer, just one step, but it changed everything. "Because it's wrong, or because you feel it too?" I backed up automatically, only to hit the edge of the small table behind me. He didn't trap me, he just stood there, giving me space but making it impossibly clear he didn't want to. "There's something between us," he continued, softer now, almost pleading. "And I'm tired of pretending there isn't." The honesty in his voice, it was disarming. Dangerous. It cracked something open in me, something I'd been fighting for far too long. I lowered my gaze, my fingers brushing the edge of the table for balance. He reached out, slowly, carefully, like he was giving me a chance to stop him. His fingertips grazed my arm, barely a touch, just enough to send a shiver racing up my spine. "Tell me to leave," he whispered. His voice shook. "You just have to say it, and I'll walk out that door." I opened my mouth. But before a single word escaped, footsteps echoed from the hallway, closer this time, heading straight toward the room we were in. We froze. The doorknob turned. And our moment, hung suspended in the air, seconds away from shattering. The door creaked open before either of us could move. We sprang apart instinctively, hearts pounding, faces flushed with the kind of tension that didn't need explaining, yet desperately needed hiding. But the person who stepped inside was the last one I expected. It wasn't a housemate. It wasn't a sibling. It wasn't anyone harmless. It was him, the man whose name had lit up my phone earlier. The man I had been trying, and failing, to distance myself from. He froze in the doorway, eyes darting between us, my robe still loose around my shoulders, the closeness we hadn't fully escaped, the air so thick with emotion it practically told the truth for us. "What's going on here?" he asked, voice low and dangerously calm. I opened my mouth, but no sound came out. The silence said too much. The tension said even more. He stepped inside, shutting the door behind him with chilling softness. I called. You didn't answer. My closest friend, the man who moments ago had been inches from me, whispering confessions he spent years holding in, stood stiff, jaw locked, a storm behind his eyes. He didn't move, didn't speak. But everything in him braced, as if preparing for the fallout. "I was just talking to her," he finally said, voice steady but simmering with something unspoken. "We needed to clear a few things." "Clear what?" the newcomer demanded, shifting his gaze to me. "You've been different lately. Distant. And now I walk in on this?" My heart hammered. I could barely breathe. I didn't do anything wrong," I whispered, more to myself than to him. But he stepped closer, anger blending with hurt. "Then tell me why you look like you were caught doing exactly that." The guilt hit hard even though nothing had happened, not technically. But the emotions? The longing? The near mistakes? They were undeniable. My friend moved before I could form a reply, stepping slightly in front of me, not aggressively, just protectively. "Don't talk to her like that," he said, voice low, steady. "You haven't been there for her in months. Don't act surprised she stopped waiting." The words struck like lightning. "What did you just say?" the newcomer snapped. My friend didn't step back. "You heard me." I stared at him, shocked. He had never spoken like that. Never stood up for me so openly, so boldly. And then came the twist I never saw coming. The newcomer's expression shifted, anger splintering into something darker, more fragile. "You think I don't know," he said quietly. "I've seen the way you look at her. Both of you acting like nothing's happening while pretending everything's fine. My breath caught. He knew, all along. You're both lying to yourselves, he added, voice cracking. She's already halfway gone, and you're the reason. The room fell silent. My friend's eyes met mine, full of something raw, painful, impossible to hide anymore. This was it. The moment everything finally broke open. Not because someone walked in. Not because we got caught. But because the truth finally stopped hiding. And now, none of us could turn back. The room felt too small for the three of us, every breath heavy with the weight of truths that could no longer stay buried. No one spoke at first. We all just stood there, caught in the wreckage of choices we had tried to outrun. Finally, the man in the doorway, the one I had been trying to distance myself from, broke the silence. So that's it, he said quietly. Not angry anymore. Not even surprised. Just defeated. You're already choosing him. I didn't choose anyone, I whispered, though my voice trembled with the truth neither of us wanted to face. I've just been confused. He laughed softly, hurt, not mocking. Confusion doesn't look like what I walked in on. Guilt crashed into my chest, sharp and cold. Because even though nothing inappropriate happened, the emotional truth between us had crossed a line long ago. He ran a hand through his hair, pacing slowly as if the room was closing in. You should have just told me. I would have left on my own. Stop, my friend said firmly. She doesn't owe you that. And you do, he shot back, eyes blazing. You think stepping between us makes you her savior? My friend's jaw tightened, but he didn't raise his voice. I'm not trying to save her. I'm trying to protect her. From me, the other man asked, hurt cracking his voice. No, he said softly. From herself. From pretending she's fine when she's been breaking for months. My eyes stung. The truth, his truth, hit harder than any accusation. Because he saw everything I tried to hide. My friend turned to me then, expression full of something raw and painful. You can't keep living in the middle. It's tearing you apart. I swallowed hard, tears burning at the edges of my vision. I know. The man in the doorway went still, watching me like he already knew what I was about to say. I didn't mean to hurt you, I whispered to him. But I can't pretend anymore. Something between us changed. And we both felt it. He looked away, jaw clenching as he blinked hard. So this is goodbye? I think it has to be, I said softly. His breath shuddered, but he nodded once. Then say it clearly. Don't leave me hanging in the doorway like a mistake. I closed my eyes, forcing the words out. I'm letting you go. Silence. Heavy. Final. He exhaled shakily, stepped back, and whispered, I hope he's worth what you just lost. Then he walked out, closing the door softly behind him. The quiet that followed was crushing. I didn't move. Couldn't. My friend approached slowly, as if afraid I might break. You did the right thing, he whispered. Tears slipped down my cheeks. It doesn't feel like it. He gently lifted my chin, his eyes full of something steady, strong, almost heartbreaking in its tenderness. It will, he said. Because now, we can finally stop lying to ourselves. The conflict wasn't over. But the truth had finally won. The silence after the door closed felt different this time, no longer sharp, no longer painful. Just honest. The storm had passed, leaving behind the raw truth of what we had been running from for far too long. I wiped my tears with the back of my hand, breath shaky. He stayed in front of me, unsure if he should touch me or keep his distance, as if one wrong move might break the fragile moment we had finally reached. You okay? He asked softly. I nodded, though my voice was barely steady. I think so. He looked at me the way he always did, quietly, deeply, as if trying to see the version of me that I hid from the world. But tonight, for the first time, I didn't hide. I'm sorry you had to see that, I whispered. I'm not, he replied gently. It finally pushed the truth to the surface. I let out a trembling breath. I never wanted to hurt anyone. He stepped a little closer, slow enough that I had time to pull away if I wanted to. I didn't. You've been hurting too, he said. Trying to hold everything together. Trying to make everyone happy but yourself. His voice softened. You deserve someone who really sees you. Someone who stays, even when it gets messy. My chest tightened, not from guilt this time, but from a warmth I hadn't felt in so long. And what about you? I asked quietly. Why did you stay? He smiled, not the teasing one, not the guarded one, but the soft, vulnerable smile he rarely let anyone see. Because it's always been you. The words settled between us, warm and certain. He didn't rush forward, didn't pull me into him. He simply offered his hand, steady, patient, a silent promise. I looked at it for a moment, feeling everything inside me shift. All the confusion, all the guilt, all the fear, dissolving into something calmer, braver. I took his hand. He exhaled like he'd been holding that breath for years. Then he stepped closer, not too close, just enough that our foreheads touched lightly, tenderly, as if the gentlest connection could say what words no longer needed to. You don't have to run anymore, he whispered. I'm not, I said. Not from you. He let out a soft laugh of relief, quiet, emotional, full of everything he'd been keeping inside. His thumb brushed gently over the back of my hand, a simple gesture that felt more intimate than any embrace. For the first time in months, my heartbeat wasn't frantic, it was full. He lifted my chin, the gesture slow and respectful, searching my eyes for permission. I nodded. Our foreheads met again, this time with a deeper warmth, no fear, no guilt, just the beginning of something real. The house was quiet, the air calm, the tension replaced with soft, undeniable affection. After everything, the chaos, the heartbreak, the truth.